Have you ever wondered why certain moments in life feel like déjà vu? As if the same emotional wound keeps replaying itself under different masks. You try to move forward, yet the same heaviness returns disguised as a conflict with someone you love, a missed opportunity, or that restless feeling that something is missing. This is not random. This is the language of your shadow. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." What if the very struggles you keep, avoiding the traits you deny, the impulses you hide, the emotions you bury are not your enemies, but your map? A map that can lead you from darkness into wholeness. Imagine carrying a lantern into the hidden corridors of your psyche. At first, the walls look threatening, shapes twist, voices echo, fears rise. But step by step you realize, these shadows are not monsters. They are fragments of you unclaimed, misunderstood, waiting to return home. Shadow work is not about fighting who you are. It is about remembering who you have always been. What if the key to your freedom is not found in the light you already know, but in the darkness you refuse to enter? Stay with me. In this journey, you will not be asked to reject yourself, but to reclaim yourself. This is your beginner's map. A guide from repression to awareness, from projection to compassion, from fragments to wholeness. So I ask you, are you ready to walk into the darkness? Not to be lost, but to finally be found? What exactly is the shadow? And why does shadow work matter so deeply for anyone seeking real transformation? In Jungian psychology, the shadow represents the hidden side of the psyche, the traits, impulses, emotions, and memories we refuse to acknowledge. When we were children, we learned quickly which parts of us were acceptable and which parts brought disapproval. Over time, we pushed those unacceptable qualities into the unconscious. They didn't vanish, they simply went underground, waiting. The shadow includes both what we call negative traits, anger, jealousy, selfishness, and surprisingly, even positive ones. Ambition, creativity, sensuality, power. Anything that threatens the image we want to show the world is likely to be buried in the shadow. That is why Jung insisted, the shadow is not evil. It is simply unknown. And what is unknown often feels frightening. Why does this matter for us today? Because the shadow doesn't stay hidden. It leaks into our lives through patterns we don't understand. When you find yourself overreacting to someone, blaming others, sabotaging opportunities, or feeling drawn to people who reflect qualities you deny in yourself, that is the shadow in motion. The unconscious becomes visible through projection, repetition, and resistance. Shadow work is the process of turning toward these disowned parts. Instead of running, we observe. Instead of condemning, we listen. Step by step, we integrate what was once rejected. And in this integration lies a profound gift: wholeness. Think of it this way. If your psyche is a vast house, the shadow is the basement you rarely visit. Dusty, dim, a little unsettling. Yet within it lies treasure, old books, forgotten tools, heirlooms of the soul. If you never open that door, you live in a mansion while using only a single room. But if you dare to descend, you expand your space. You claim your full inheritance. For the modern individual surrounded by constant pressure to perform, to shine, to curate the perfect self-image, shadow work is not optional. It is essential. Without it, we remain half alive, chasing approval while cut off from our inner truth. With it, we begin to walk authentically, carrying both light and darkness as allies. This beginner's map you hold is not a quick fix, not a trick for instant happiness. It is a guide toward integration, toward meeting yourself honestly, courageously, compassionately. The shadow is not against you, it is you. And the moment you accept that truth, transformation begins. Let me tell you a story. Not from a textbook, but from the timeless language of myth, the kind of story that whispers truths deeper than logic. Once, there was a traveler who set out to find treasure. He heard of a radiant jewel hidden in a faraway kingdom, a jewel said to grant wholeness and peace. He crossed deserts, scaled mountains, and wandered through forests, chasing the promise of light. Yet each time he reached the edge of discovery, something blocked his path. A dark figure who appeared in dreams, in shadows, In Reflections on the River, this figure seemed hostile, whispering words the traveler didn't want to hear. "You are not ready. You have left something behind." Frustrated, the traveler pushed on, ignoring the figure. But the jewel remained elusive. One night, exhausted, he stopped running. He turned toward the shadowy figure and asked, "Who are you?" Slowly, the figure removed its hood. To the traveler's shock, the face beneath was his own, tired, wounded, yet strangely radiant. The figure placed a hand on his heart and said, "I am the part of you you abandoned. To find the jewel, you must take me with you." And so the traveler realized, the treasure he sought was never out there. It had always been inside, waiting to be unlocked by reunion with the forgotten self. This myth is not just a tale, it is a mirror of your psyche. The treasure is your wholeness. The dark figure is your shadow. We spend years searching outside for success, for validation, for love, while the very key lies within the parts we have buried. Consider your own life. Have you ever chased achievements only to feel empty afterward? Have you longed for love but sabotaged intimacy? Have you fought battles against enemies only to realize later you were wrestling with your own denied traits? That is the traveler's journey. The shadow always appears when you are close to transformation. At first, it feels like resistance, like a threat. But when you turn toward it with courage, the shadow reveals itself as an ally. Its message is simple yet profound. You cannot be whole by leaving half of yourself behind. Think of the phoenix, the mythical bird that rises from ashes. Its rebirth is only possible through fire and destruction. In the same way, your rebirth, your movement toward wholeness, requires facing what was once burned, denied, and buried. So let me ask you, what face might your shadow wear? A critical parent's voice? A forgotten childhood dream? An anger you never expressed? A vulnerability you never allowed? Each mask hides a fragment of your soul, and each fragment longs to return. The traveler's story is your story. The jewel of peace, the promise of freedom, the radiance of authenticity, they are not out of reach. They are waiting in the very place you've been taught to avoid. The question is, will you keep chasing the light outside, or dare to meet the figure in the dark, who turns out to be you? The shadow rarely announces itself directly. It doesn't step into the room and say, "Here I am." Instead, it sneaks into your life, disguised as patterns, emotions, and conflicts you cannot quite explain. Let's explore 3 of the clearest signs that your shadow is silently shaping your reality. Sign 1. Overreactions that surprise you. Have you ever felt yourself explode with anger, jealousy, or defensiveness over something small? A comment, a glance, a mistake, and suddenly, your reaction feels 10 times larger than the situation? That is often the shadow speaking. Carl Jung explained that what we repress tends to burst out with intensity. When we deny anger, for instance, we may erupt uncontrollably when triggered. When we bury envy, it surfaces as bitter comparisons. The shadow exaggerates because it has been silenced for too long. The next time you feel an overreaction boiling up, ask yourself, what part of me am I trying not to see right now? Instead of condemning the outburst, treat it as a signal. Your shadow is knocking, saying, "This emotion belongs to you. Will you claim it?" Sign 2. Constant projection onto others. Projection is one of the most powerful fingerprints of the shadow. It happens when we unconsciously place our denied traits onto others. For example, someone who cannot accept their own selfish impulses may constantly call others selfish. A person who represses ambition might look down on ambitious people, accusing them of greed. The more we deny in ourselves, the more we are haunted by it in others. Jung called this the mirror of the shadow. When someone irritates you beyond reason, pause. Could it be that they are reflecting something you refuse to acknowledge within? This doesn't mean every irritation is projection, but when the reaction is unusually charged, the shadow is often nearby. Try this reflection. Think of 3 people who annoy you most. Write down the qualities that bother you. Then ask, where does this quality live in me? You may not like the answer, but it is the beginning of integration. Sign 3. Repeated patterns of self-sabotage. Do you notice yourself circling the same painful patterns? No matter how hard you try to change? Perhaps every relationship ends the same way. Perhaps opportunities slip through your fingers just as success nears. Perhaps inner voices whisper, "You're not ready. You don't deserve this." This looping is the shadow's way of demanding attention. The unconscious will replay the same lesson until it is faced. It is like a dream you keep forgetting, only to have it return night after night. Shadow work begins when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me again?" and instead ask, "What part of me is trying to be seen through this pattern?" The pattern is not punishment, it is invitation, a summons to meet the hidden part of yourself that has been pulling the strings. Together, these three signs, overreaction, projection, and repetition, form the first map to your shadow. They are not failures, they are breadcrumbs, leading you back to what is hidden. Remember, the shadow never comes to harm you. It comes to remind you, to show you the parts of yourself you've left behind. If you are willing to follow these signs, you will begin to see that what feels like chaos is, in fact, the beginning of wholeness. The shadow has many faces. Sometimes it speaks through the storms of anger and projection, but other times it hides in subtle disguises, so subtle that we mistake its presence for personality or even fate. Let us continue our map by exploring 3 more signs of the shadow at work. Sign 4. Attraction to the wrong people. Have you noticed how often we are drawn to people who reflect our hidden qualities? You might feel an irresistible pull towards someone who embodies freedom, boldness, or passion, all qualities you long for but repress in yourself. Or perhaps you are repeatedly entangled with partners who mirror your own unhealed wounds. This attraction is not accidental. The psyche seeks wholeness, and it often tries to restore balance by drawing us toward our opposite. The qualities you suppress are magnetized to you through others. Until you recognize this, relationships may feel like cycles of longing and disappointment. But if you dare to ask, "What is this person showing me about myself?" you transform the pattern. The wrong people become teachers, pointing you back to your disowned traits. Sign 5. The persona feels exhausting. Jung used the word persona to describe the mask we wear to fit into society, the image we present to be accepted. A mask is useful. It allows us to navigate social roles, jobs, and relationships. But when the mask becomes too rigid, life feels suffocating. If you find yourself drained by constant performance pretending to be the strong one, the nice one, the successful one, your shadow is pressing against the mask. Beneath the polished persona lies raw humanity. Flaws, fears, desires, and needs. The more you deny them, the heavier the mask becomes. Have you ever collapsed into bed at night, feeling that no one knows the real you? That is the shadow's whisper. It is not asking you to throw away the mask entirely, but to loosen it, to let in breath, to allow authenticity. Shadow work means recognizing you are not only the mask, you are also the face beneath it. Sign 6. Dreams that disturb or intrigue you. The unconscious speaks most vividly through dreams. Often, what we cannot face in waking life returns in symbols at night. A chase through dark corridors, a stranger staring silently, a wounded child, a wild animal. All these dream images are potential faces of your shadow. Jung believed dreams are messages from the unconscious, offering guidance. The frightening dream is not punishment. It is communication. The stranger in your dream might be a lost part of your psyche. The animal might represent instinctual energy you have suppressed. The wounded child might be your own innocence, asking for care. If you ignore these dreams, they repeat, intensify, or vanish into waking symptoms like anxiety or restlessness. But if you engage by writing them down, reflecting, even dialoguing with the dream figures, you begin to integrate their message. Think of your dreams as secret letters from the shadow, delivered nightly. Will you open them or leave them unread? Together, these 3 signs, magnetic attraction, persona exhaustion, and dream messengers, reveal the shadow's subtle artistry. It does not only roar, it also whispers. It does not only wound, it also teaches. The more you learn to recognize its disguises, the more you realize the shadow is not an enemy. It is a guide, waiting patiently until you are ready to listen. We have traced the signs of the shadow, its eruptions, its projections, its whispers in relationships, masks, and dreams. But knowledge alone is not enough. The real question is, how do we begin to integrate the shadow? How do we move from awareness into transformation? Let us explore two final lessons, stepping stones toward wholeness. Lesson 1. Radical self. Honesty. Integration begins with the courage to see yourself without distortion. Most of us are experts at rationalizing, saying, "I'm not angry, I'm just stressed," or "I'm not jealous, I just care." But the shadow cannot be integrated through excuses. It asks for honesty, raw and unfiltered. This does not mean judging yourself harshly. It means telling the truth with compassion. Yes, I felt envy. Yes, I wanted power. Yes, I feared rejection. When you can name these truths without collapsing into shame, you reclaim them as parts of you, not enemies, not sins, simply aspects of your humanity. Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Light is not fantasy, it is the clarity born of honesty. Lesson 2. Dialogue with the shadow. The shadow is not silent. It speaks through dreams, emotions, and impulses. Integration requires not only noticing it, but entering into relationship with it. One practice is journaling as dialogue. Write a question to your shadow. Why do you keep showing up in this pattern? Then allow yourself to write as if the shadow is answering. You may be surprised by the voice that emerges. It is often wiser and more caring than you expect. Another practice is imagination. Close your eyes and picture the shadow as a figure, perhaps a child, a stranger, an animal. Approach it with curiosity. Ask, "What do you need from me?" Instead of exile, offer acknowledgement. This symbolic dialogue turns the shadow from adversary into guide. Lesson 3. Small acts of integration. Integration does not happen in a single breakthrough. It happens in small, daily acts of inclusion. Allowing yourself to rest when your persona demands productivity. Expressing honest anger in safe ways instead of bottling it. Admitting vulnerability instead of performing perfection. Every time you make room for a disowned part, you weave another thread of wholeness. Over weeks and months, the threads become a tapestry, a self that is authentic, balanced, alive. These lessons, self-honesty, dialogue, and small acts, are the doorway into integration. The shadow will never disappear completely, nor should it. It will always walk beside you, reminding you of the depths you carry. But when it is integrated, it no longer sabotages, it supports. It no longer whispers against you, it whispers for you. Integration is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of becoming fully human. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." These words may sound heavy, but they reveal a profound truth. Growth demands confrontation. To awaken, we must meet what we have hidden. The shadow is not a curse, it is a necessity. Imagine a world where you only ever saw daylight. Without nightfall, you would never see the stars. Without contrast, light itself loses meaning. In the same way, without the shadow, you cannot truly understand your own light. Modern life tempts us to avoid the shadow. We are encouraged to stay positive, think happy thoughts, and keep smiling. While optimism has its place, relentless positivity can become another form of repression. It silences the deeper voices of the soul. Jung warned against this imbalance. Wholeness is not about being only good, only light, only happy. Wholeness means being human, embracing the full spectrum of existence. Consider the paradox. The very parts of yourself you fear most may hold the seeds of your greatest gifts. Anger, when faced and integrated, transforms into courage. Envy, once acknowledged, becomes inspiration. Fear, when befriended, becomes wisdom. What you once saw as darkness is, in truth, potential waiting for form. Jung also said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This is the heart of shadow work. Enlightenment is not about floating above the human experience. It is about descending into the depths of your humanity, then returning with treasures. It is about carrying both candle and shadow, knowing they belong together. Think of the yin-yang symbol, black within white, white within black. each containing the seed of the other. This ancient image captures Jung's vision of the psyche. Light and dark are not enemies. They dance, they balance, they complete one another. When you avoid your shadow, you live a half-life always striving, always pretending, always haunted. But when you turn toward it, something astonishing happens. Compassion grows. You begin to understand not only yourself, but others. Their flaws no longer look like threats, but mirrors. Their wounds resonate with yours. From this understanding, empathy blossoms. Shadow work, then, is not only personal, it is relational, even collective. Jung believed that the shadow does not exist only in individuals, but also in societies. Entire cultures repress, project, and repeat destructive patterns until they dare to face their collective darkness. In this sense, your inner work contributes to the healing of the whole. Each person who integrates their shadow adds a drop of clarity to the human ocean. So ask yourself, what if your darkness is not the end of your story, but the doorway? What if the very cracks in your being are the openings where light can enter? What if, by embracing your shadow, you step into a love deeper than self-image, a love rooted in truth? The paradox is beautiful. You become whole not by rejecting darkness, but by carrying it with dignity. You become luminous not by denying the night, but by recognizing the stars within it. We have walked a long road together through darkness, through mirrors, through dreams and revelations. And perhaps by now, you can sense the truth. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your missing piece. From the very beginning, your shadow has been calling. In overreactions, in projections, in restless dreams, it has whispered, "Do not forget me." You searched for light outside, but the treasure was always within the parts of yourself you buried, waiting to be reclaimed. The journey of shadow work is the journey of becoming whole. It begins in the darkness of repression. It continues through the light of awareness. It deepens in the courage of integration. And it culminates in wholeness, not perfection, but authenticity. You are not meant to be flawless. You are meant to be real. Wholeness means carrying both lantern and shadow. It means walking as a full human being, strong and tender, ambitious and humble, joyous and sorrowful. It means no longer splitting yourself in half just to please the world. This is the invitation of shadow work: to stop running, to turn inward, to reclaim what was lost. So I ask you, what fragment of yourself will you welcome home today? Will it be your unspoken anger, ready to teach you courage? Your buried creativity, ready to spark again? Your forgotten tenderness, waiting to heal your relationships? Whatever it is, remember, integration begins with a single act of acknowledgement. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Terrifying, yes, but also liberating. For when you accept yourself completely, you no longer live in fragments. You live in wholeness. And this is where your map leads, from darkness to wholeness. If this journey has spoken to you, I invite you to keep walking with us. Share your reflections in the comments. What resonated? What surprised you? What fragment you are ready to reclaim? Subscribe for more guides into the depths of the psyche, and join a community of seekers who are brave enough to turn toward the shadow. Because the truth is simple: the more of us who embrace our own darkness, the more light we bring into the world. Your shadow is waiting. Your wholeness is calling. And the next step is yours.